What if the diamond on your finger was never actually rare? There are far more diamonds buried in the earth than any of us imagine. And yet we hand over months of our salary for a single small stone. Why on earth do we do that? The answer lies not in nature, but in one company's brilliant lie. For more than 100 years, a company called De Beers turned a common stone into the symbol of eternal love. They manipulated two things at the same time. The first was supply, how rare a diamond could be made to look. The second was demand, how desperately people could be made to want one. The company that seized both of them set the price of every diamond on earth for a century. And at the heart of that magic sat a single line of advertising copy. For words, a diamond is forever. Astonishingly, that tiny sentence is still ranked as the greatest advertising slogan ever written. But right now, deep cracks are spreading through this 100-year-old empire. Let us follow how a common rock became forever and why forever is collapsing today. The story begins in South Africa in the 1870s. Until then, diamonds really were rare. They were found only in tiny handfuls in the riverbeds of India and Brazil. That is why a diamond was a jewel reserved for kings and aristocrats. And then, in South Africa, an enormous diamond deposit was discovered, not scattered through a riverbed, but pouring straight out of pipes buried deep in the ground. Almost overnight, the world was flooded with diamonds. For the men who owned the mines, this was not a windfall, but a catastrophe. When something becomes common, its price falls. That is the most basic law of any market. If diamonds became as common as pebbles on the street, nobody would pay a fortune for one. Prices were, in fact, on the verge of collapse. The moment scarcity disappeared, the mystique of the diamond was destined to vanish with it. And it was inside that crisis that one ambitious man had an audacious idea. If diamonds had become common, why not simply make them precious again? That ambitious man was named Cecil Rhodes. One by one, he began buying up the diamond mines of South Africa. And in 1888, he founded a company called De Beers, taking hold of almost every mine there was. The strategy of Rhodes was simple and devastating. He would hold the world's entire diamond supply in a single hand. Because if you own the supply, you can name any price you like. De Beers did not release the diamonds it dug out of the ground onto the market. It let out only a trickle and locked the rest away in its vaults, deliberately making something scarce like this has a name: artificial scarcity. In reality, the stones were everywhere, but the flow was throttled so that they looked rare. It is like opening a tap by the smallest crack and making water itself feel precious. At its peak, De Beers controlled 80 to 90% of every diamond on Earth. Whenever prices threatened to slip, it tightened supply further and bought up stones to prop the market back up. In this way, De Beers took total command of one half of the game: supply. But the truly ingenious piece of magic had not even begun. Squeezing supply protected the price, but one problem remained. No matter how rare a thing is, it is worthless if nobody wants to buy it. Through the Great Depression of the 1930s, diamond sales withered away. So De Beers set out to manufacture the other half of the game: demand. In 1938, De Beers joined forces with an American advertising agency. The goal was singular: to make the diamond an absolute requirement of love and marriage. Cleverly, they never really advertised the product itself. Instead, they quietly planted the diamond inside the culture. They slipped rings onto the fingers of Hollywood stars and staged proposal scenes in the movies. They implanted one single idea: that a diamond is the proof of true love. And then, in 1947, a young woman working as a copywriter scribbled down 4 words late at night: "A diamond is forever." Curiously, the woman who wrote that line never married in her entire life. With that one sentence, the diamond and eternal love became the same thing. Thanks to this magic, the share of American brides wearing a diamond engagement ring exploded from 10% to 80%. That single line, "a diamond is forever," was in truth a triple-layered piece of psychological warfare. First, it planted a simple equation: the diamond lasts forever, and so does love. It fused an emotion and a product into one object. Second, it carried a hidden order: that this is something you keep forever, so you must never resell it. That was a devastatingly cunning device. If people never sell their old diamonds, then second-hand diamonds never circulate on the market. And with no used supply to threaten prices, the world stayed perfect for De Beers. Third, it whispered that you buy this only once in a lifetime, so spend without holding back. And out of that came the most famous rule of all: the rule that an engagement ring should cost you 2 or 3 months of salary. Astonishingly, there is no basis whatsoever for that number. It was simply a line of advertising copy, invented by De Beers to push people toward a more expensive ring. Nature contains no such rule, but marketing turned it into common sense. And so De Beers came to rule both halves of the game: supply and demand alike. That was the moment a common stone became the most emotional product on Earth. Slowly, cracks began to spread through this apparently eternal empire. The first threat came from new mines. Diamonds outside the De Beers system started pouring out of Russia, Canada, and Australia. If those producers sold directly, without passing through De Beers, the control of supply would fall apart. The second threat was the law. Country after country began treating a cartel that corners a market as illegal. A cartel is a structure in which companies conspire together to control supply and fix prices. The United States in particular spent decades attacking the De Beers monopoly. In the end, the market share of De Beers slid down from that peak of 80 to 90%. The company had lost much of its power to throttle world supply at will. But the real knockout blow came from neither the mines nor the law. It came from somewhere nobody expected, a laboratory. The technology to grow a diamond in a factory, instead of digging one out of the ground, had finally gone commercial. Science was taking aim at the heart of a 100-year-old empire. A diamond made in a factory is called a lab-grown diamond. And here we have to clear up a misunderstanding. This is not a fake gemstone. In its chemistry and in its crystal structure, it is identical to a mined stone, a real diamond. The only difference is that a process which takes hundreds of millions of years underground is recreated in a factory in a few weeks. Not only can the eye not tell them apart, even an expert cannot without a machine. And yet the price is a small fraction of the natural stone. As Indian factories threw themselves into mass production, lab-grown prices went into free fall. Since 2020, lab-grown diamond prices have crashed by more than 70%. Consumers reacted fast. In 2025, more than 40% of engagement rings sold in America carry a lab-grown stone. Natural diamond prices have collapsed too, down more than 30% from their peak. Even De Beers, which propped the price up for a century, has had to cut prices and cut production. The company that owns De Beers wrote billions of dollars off its value. The magic of artificial scarcity lost its power in front of a technology that can make the thing without limit. So, is the myth of the diamond finally over? To be fair, we have to look at two opposing views here. One side says the myth is finished. If you can buy the identical stone for a fraction of the price, why would anyone pay up for a mined one? The spell of scarcity has been broken, they argue, so the price will eventually settle where it truly belongs. The other side sees it completely differently. What people are buying is not a stone, but a story and a feeling. A century of accumulated meaning, the image of real love, is not so easily erased by a machine. And in fact, the more common lab-grown stones become, the harder the industry works to repackage the mined diamond as the genuinely rare luxury. Whichever side wins, the lesson of this story is clear. The value of a thing is not something that nature hands down to us. Price is not discovered. It is built out of a story. It happened with the diamond. It happens with the luxury handbag. And it may well be happening with many of the things you believe are expensive right now. So the next time you buy something, ask yourself this: am I buying the object or am I buying the story? Hold on to that one question, and the world starts to look a little different. If you like the hidden stories of the economy dug all the way to the bottom, subscribe, and the next deep dive will come straight to you.